Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another session of Friday Drinks. Today it's rather great. We've got the beautiful Mikey on show, and sitting in the middle.
Thank you for having me. Super excited to be here.
So you know what? I'm always wondering because I see you every time I see you. You're always glammed up. Is it always glitz and glam for you?
No, this is me like 5% of the time. 95% of the time, I look like a mess. You probably wouldn't recognize me, actually.
Really?
I think you wouldn't.
Well, we'll find out. And how was Independence Day for you? Last weekend, actually.
I was about to ask, when was that? For me, it was just like any other day, really. Yeah.
What does independence mean for you?
As a Zimbabwean, it doesn't really mean much. I don't know what to say. I guess.
Okay, you're not on the hot seat at the moment, but we'll get there. Rufaro, Independence Day. What does it mean for you?
Yeah, look, I think it's a milestone in our history. We moved from black people being second-class citizens in their own country to freedom and independence. Well, that's aspiration. But on the day, actually, what comes to my mind is just a lot of the own goals and missed opportunities. 44 years later, 30 years after independence, Singapore moved from third world to first world. They became a rich country with first world infrastructure and per capita incomes that make their people rich. And 44 years later, and Singapore is like this tiny little island in Southeast Asia with a population of about 5-6 million. It's on less than 1,000 square meters. They have no natural resources, right? They import water from Malaysia, right? Zimbabwe has got 300 times more land. We've got every resource that you can imagine under the sun. We're richly endowed with it, and yet we're still poor.
All right, so I think there's something about wearing a hat indoors that that is totally off, but so is your analysis of independence and Singapore and success of a particular country. Let's look at America that was independent in 1776, right?
Yeah.
They only became a developed country, let's call it another 150 years after that. But it doesn't mean that they didn't celebrate their independence. They still celebrated their independence, despite that they were a poor country. In fact, for most of American history, they were a poor country, except for the last maybe 150 years.
Well, that's more than 50% of their history as an independent nation. So for most of their history, they've been rich. If
50%.
They became the world's largest economy in 1890.
No, it's closer to 1915, just before the World War One.
We can go down this rabbit hole if you like.
But anyway, the point I'm trying to make.
He was just talking about missed opportunities, right?
Yeah, but it's besides the point. The point is whether you're independent or not. The success, it doesn't matter. It's just like celebrating your birthday. We don't look at Mikey and say, "Oh, are you a success or not?"
Well, some people honestly don't have anything to celebrate on their birthday.
Yeah, that's why it's like any other day.
Well, anyway, this is a great time for us. I think that Independence Day is a day we should celebrate, despite whether or not we are a success or not. As far as success is concerned, I think I tend to buy into your two arguments, which is we haven't done as well as we should have and we could have. If you look at that, just the stats, GDP per capita in 1980 was somewhere around $1,000, and we're still somewhere hovering around $1,000, and this is 4 decades later. So there's something for us to do, but the hope is, if you look at American independence, for the first 100 years they were a poor country. So we still have another 66 years.
It's like saying, "Oh, you know what? My performance is poor, but you know what? Tinashes is even poorer, so I'm not doing so."
It's okay to be mediocre because the bar is so low.
No, you can't. That's a horrible way of thinking about things.
Okay, fair enough. Let's talk about other interesting things. What are you guys drinking?
So, seeing as we have a fitness professional here, they say that a glass of red wine is good for the heart. So we're drinking a healthy tipple. It's a a Bordeaux blend.
Okay.
That one of my friends recommends very highly. So I hope it hits the
So
spot.
what was the point of asking me?
And then, and that's why I'm actually wearing Comrades regalia.
You're just gonna ignore.
You know what?
Asking you.
What I wanted to drink.
Well, I asked Tinashe to ask you because he's the one who got you on the show, right? And initially the response that we got was you were going to drink water.
Oh,
Yes,
I sent you what she specifically wanted. George, do you want to confirm this?
No, I must have missed
the
that.
crew, everybody.
Thank you very much.
I must have missed that.
Thank you.
But okay.
Can't wait to try it.
On your next tour, we'll get it right.
No, but thank you very much. I can't wait to try it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what are you having on the boring?
Okay, so I'm having
it looks very colorful there.
It's a virgin mojito. So yeah, and I've borrowed one of your glasses because I think it just looks great in a whiskey glass. In fact, I think this is what we should do with whiskey glasses, like make mojitos.
Make virgin mojitos. And desecrate our bar.
I don't know about desecration, but it smells good, looks good. So yeah, that's
your thoughts?
Tastes good. It's not too harsh
Cheers.
on the tongue. No, it's all right. Cheers. Why don't you do like a clink, clink? Okay.
Oh, you're not really supposed to.
We didn't make eye contact here. That's bad luck.
Oh, okay. We can do it again.
Do it again. Yeah.
Cheers.
Touch
I'm not supposed to sip, but anyway.
All right. So, Mikey, the reason why we have you here is because this is an old man's show, typically, because we've been around the block for quite a bit.
Well, so you guys aren't that old.
Oh, thank you very much. We needed more on the show. But the reason why we have this is because, we've been having a lot of conversation with young people or millennials.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that they have to say. And they have a voice. And we thought that, today, why don't we have a millennial on the show? And then we can just, talk about Zim and what Zim is like for you guys.
Yeah.
Already, I think you've just given us a prelude in what you just said about independence. And we're going to get into it later on, but just generally. But you're also a very fascinating character. Health and fitness, that's something that you're into.
Very passionate about it.
Wealth management and all sorts.
Yeah.
Yeah, a socialite.
No.
A baddie.
No. You learned that word 5 minutes ago because I used it. You didn't even know what that meant 2 seconds ago.
No, I didn't, but that's the reason why we have you here.
Okay.
And perhaps that's how we can connect the generations, right?
Okay.
Because we have a lot of people who watch the show who are probably northwards of 50, right? And
that's your audience?
Okay. It turns out, but and the reason why you're here is because so that we connect, so that they know exactly what their kids are thinking,
makes
and
sense.
what's actually happening with the millennials.
Yeah,
especially the Zimbabwean millennials. So the first question that I actually have for you, and you've got the platform, is to just maybe tell us a bit about your story.
Okay. So my name is Michaelina Chindiya. I am a certified personal trainer. Currently, I specialize in pre- and postnatal training. I'm a mother of one. I'm a wife. I spent 8 years working in the financial services sector as a private wealth manager. Basically, I was just managing portfolios of high net worth Zimbabweans offshore. So you're looking at like Cayman Islands, Guernsey, Mauritius, Isle of Man, those type of jurisdictions. And I did it for 8 years. And then, after I had the baby, I kind of had to slow things down. And with most women, like your career takes a bit of a blow once you have a child. So I then just kind of decided to focus on personal training, which is what I do full time now, because it gives me the flexibility that I need as a mom. And prior to that, I did my degree in banking and finance at the University of Essex in the UK. And around the time that I graduated, I really thought that I was going to be in the UK forever. That was like my plan. But it was around the time that Theresa May was in power and they started to have talks about Brexit. And we went from having about 6 months to a year to getting your finding a job and getting your employer to sponsor your visa to having 3 months. So yeah, right after graduation, I couldn't get a job. I couldn't secure anything, and then I ended up coming back to Zim, and I was fortunate enough to actually get the job that I had for 8 years, about 3 to 4 months after graduating. Yeah, and I pretty much worked at the same firm for 8 years. I was at Carrick Wealth, which is a private wealth management firm. And yeah, I think that's a bit on me.
Okay.
More.
So if Brexit obviously led to the Brits tightening things in terms of foreigners staying and getting work, and obviously that's probably like pre-Brexit and in the immediate aftermath of it. But right now, the UK has done a complete 180.
That was very long. They got 3 to 6 years or something like that. I was so upset.
Yeah, because their population demographics is that their labor force is shrinking, and Brexit has made life a bit harder for EU passport holders to live and work in the UK. So a lot of them just left.
Yeah.
So they've got this huge shortage of skills, and they've made life so much easier for people like Zimbabweans to emigrate there. I think
didn't they tighten up on that again recently in terms of especially with the care workers, especially from Zimbabwe?
They tightened the restrictions a little bit, but I mean, I was amazed when I looked at the stats for last year. So after India and Nigeria, which have considerably higher populations than Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe was actually the third.
17,000
Zimbabweans legally immigrated to the UK last year.
In 1 year?
Yeah.
What time frame? That's crazy.
So with the gates open now, is that something that you think about, or people in your demographic think about leaving the country and emigrating to a place like the UK?
Yeah, I mean, it's on a lot of people's minds. I mean, most of my friends now, or even peers, colleagues, have moved abroad. Because at the end of the day, I'll be honest, especially as a millennial, the Zimbabwean dream is to leave Zimbabwe. It's not to stay. That's the dream.
How is it a Zimbabwean dream?
Well, as a millennial,
if it involves leaving the country, how is it what's Zimbabwean about it?
If you're in this country, and let's say, you're around my age and you've been here long enough and things aren't working for you, which is for the majority of, people, millennials. I can't believe I'm a millennial. But for the majority of them, the dream is to actually just get out and move to a country where they can actually have the privilege of even just dreaming. You can dream of owning a house, having a car, or just having a decent, income, stable income, and actually planning for your financial future, which most people don't have here. Even with you guys talking to me here now, I'm actually privileged. I'm very privileged. And, most people don't have the privilege of even having the option of going from wealth management and then deciding to be a personal trainer and focusing on a niche like what I'm doing now. Most people don't even have a job. And even if you then are self-employed, you're really fighting so hard to make it work or just to make ends meet. It's like one nightmare after another. I think I saw on Twitter someone even said that I need to create a support group for Zimbabwean entrepreneurs so they can just come together and cry because it's hard. So, the dream ends up turning into I need to get out of this place. I need to go to a place where I can plan for my financial future. I can dream of having a family, having a home, owning a car, and just having the basics, because it's not something that most people can afford to do here.
It's not as simple as it was for your grandparents.
So I
just want us to walk back to your visa troubles, because that's something that actually is very unique for people with exotic passports like Zimbabwe. And I can totally understand the angst, and a lot of parents and grandparents and a lot of millennials will be facing the same problems. How do you navigate? I mean, what's actually happening? How are
in
people
terms of
just getting their visas, just ticking the boxes, or do they just eventually become illegals?
I mean, I know for me, it was a lot of my mom didn't necessarily have the money required for the visa application. So, for example, if I'm going to go study. My mom needs to show that she has enough money to, support me during my time there. And she has to have maybe like 1 year's annual tuition in her bank account. And I went to university shortly after 2008 happened. I think it was about 3 years after 2008 happened. And my mom had lost everything. And she got to a point where she, you have to kind of get family to send you money, sell certain assets so you can just put that money together, even though it might not necessarily be your money. And you have to frame things differently just so that you can, look the part and get the visa, and look like you actually have the capacity to go and be there. But it really felt like you're, jumping through one hoop after another, and it was just, you're just trying to make things work. But for me, again, I was even privileged because to be able to have $40,000 sitting in a bank account for 3 months is not something everyone can do. And I know a lot of people struggle. It takes a lot longer.
So how do they go about it?
You know what? You just take it in one stage at a time. So I know, for example, my cousin wants to go and do care work in the UK. Right now, he spent like 3 months just working on getting money together so you could take that. What's that English test called? IELTS?
I have no idea.
It's part of the visa application.
I'm out of touch with these things.
Really? Well, first you have to prove IELTS. Someone better tell us. It took him 3 months just to first, just to go and sit and take a test. That's part of the visa application process. And there are probably 5 things that you need to do. And I think, he's been in the process of trying to just get to the point where he can submit an application for like the past 18 months. So for some people, it can just take forever. And it really feels like you're jumping through one hoop after another, just trying to prove to people that you're worthy enough to come to their country. And sometimes it can feel a bit...
Is the UK the destination of choice?
For me?
For young people, just generally.
No, I feel like a lot of young people want to go to Australia now.
Okay, why? What's the fascination with Australia?
Well, I know... Well, from my personal experience, even when I went to the United Kingdom, when I went up north, the weather is so shit. It's horrible. It's so depressing. And people there are very... I don't know what the word is. But, when you're grumpy, angry, it doesn't feel like you're part of a community. It really does. Everyone's really about their lives, what they're doing, what they've got going, and their problems. So you never really feel like you're home. So I genuinely wasn't happy there. You work for every penny that you get.
So Australia's the weather.
Okay. It seems like people...
Weather, just like beautiful weather.
People are nicer there, I feel.
Funny accent.
Is there someone from there here? Is that
No.
why you're saying that?
No.
Oh, okay. And I just feel like it would be a better place to just even start a family, raise kids. I'm not the biggest fan of the UK. I mean, I'm grateful for the time I had there,
but I think in a lot of ways it's
I wouldn't
very
live there. I wouldn't live there.
And very friendly to immigrants.
Yeah.
To immigrants.
In London.
No.
But once you
Australia.
Australia. Oh, okay, yeah. They are. They're a lot more. Yeah, you get a better reception there. I feel. Yeah.
And maybe also the crossover from being a student to working is actually easier than in America or in the UK.
Yeah. Last time I checked, you don't even really need to have someone sponsor your visa post. Okay. Yeah.
Graduation, you automatically get a work.
You can get a job and you can actually work in a work permit.
These are the privileged kids who can actually
go there,
in Australia. And the rest, what do they do? So South Africa, I suppose.
I guess you go to South Africa, it's affordable. You just stay here. I mean, you can still go.
The South Africans are not very welcoming, though, of Zimbabwean students post-graduation. You actually have to go back to where you came from, and then if you want to work in South Africa, you have
apply again for a visa.
Apply for work.
They don't want us there.
So
I wouldn't want to go where I'm not wanted.
Yeah. So there's something that you said that I, just piqued my interest, and I think it would be very relevant because for us, when we were in school in the 80s and 90s, and those were the good old Zimbabwean days. Mm-hmm. But there's something that you said about 2008, 2007, being in school at that time when your parents' savings were decimated and you're seeing all that.
Yeah.
What was it like? Would you like to just share with us the experience, especially for kids? You look at your parents and you realize that, everything, their savings has just been wiped off. And what was it like?
It was really tough because it was around that time that I actually wrote my O levels, and I have memories of studying in the car because we'd be sitting in a car queue till late in the evening. Fuel queue, sorry. Fuel queue till late. Wow. Just trying to get fuel so you can get to going to school. I studied for most of my O levels by candlelight. Solar panels and all these things that we have now weren't really a thing.
They're expensive then.
They're really a thing. Yeah, they're very expensive. But it was pretty sad for me as well because just like how you said, you lived through the good old days. Like, I think I have very fond memories, even from the 90s, of a very nice childhood. First Street used to be a place where you used to go and see the Christmas lights. When it's Christmas time, because they would have the decorations up, and it was like a clean street. There were no vendors, and it was actually kind of like an occasion. Drive into town and go see the Christmas lights on First Street, and that's I had very good experiences as a child and very good memories. So it was a bit tough, and it was hard. But yeah, I mean.
So let me tell you what the 90s were like for us.
What were they for you?
And I remember what brought tears to my eyes was actually Rwanda. Right?
Oh, the genocide.
The genocide.
It happened the year I was actually born.
Yeah, there you go.
1994.
Was it 93, 94? Was it 94 or 93?
Yeah, 92 to 94. And then South Africa was actually happening to South Africa. And I remember reading this book, In the Fog of the Season's End. And it was a very sad story, and these were the stories that we heard of other African countries. If you remember Mozambique, what was happening in Mozambique?
Yeah, there was war ravaging.
And Botswana was in perpetual drought. Yeah, and those were the stories that we had.
And we were the bright city on a hill. Outside, because South Africa wasn't independent until 1994. So Zimbabwe was really.
Do you know why I always remember that we were bigger, as an economy we were better and bigger than Kenya? It's because we had friends in the neighborhood who were from Kenya. And they were just totally bowed over by Zimbabwe. We didn't even know what the word pothole meant. Literally, I only understood what pothole means and what it figuratively and metaphorically means. Holes.
Yeah.
I only understood that as a 20-something-year-old. I didn't understand.
Yeah.
The sewer system actually worked. So I think we were privileged to have experienced that. Yeah. And I think, what they say about a happy childhood?
What?
A happy life. Sure. So where I'm trying to go with this is, what does it mean for this generation that went through the financial crisis, the hyperinflation, and then now they're coming of age, they're becoming adult, and they've had this terrible upbringing. Well, not the best.
Yeah.
Upbringing.
I think it's like
Do
being
you
in a
guys
state
have
of
anger
hopeless.
issues?
More like we're hopeless. We're feeling a bit hopeless. Feeling a bit lost. Because, like I said, our childhood was, well, for me, and I think for quite a number, because millennials, from 1985, now I'm being specific, because I really went and looked this up. From the 1980s, mid-1980s till mid-1990s, thereabout. But we had a decent childhood. So for us growing up, when things got bad, we were thinking, we had a lot of hope, and I saw it with a lot of my peers and the people around me in general. We had a lot of hope. We thought things will get better in our lifetime. There's no way that things
could get worse.
Yeah, things could get worse. And things continue to get worse, and things didn't improve. And, you're now at a stage in your life where you're now in your 30s. It's been a decade or a decade and a half of just hoping things would get better and being optimistic. And it kind of wears you out. And you get to a stage where you realize no one's going to come and save you. Doesn't look like it will change, in our lifetime. And, we found ourselves going from a situation where you're very optimistic to feeling hopeless, and now realizing that, I have to save myself. That's where getting out is now coming in, where a lot of friends stuck around saying, I want to be the change. I want to be a part of the change. I want to make an impact, to realizing that, that might not necessarily happen while I'm alive. And that I'm just going to have to get out or make a plan or do what I need to do to keep myself going, keep my family going.
Okay. Yeah. So you talked about the dream, and you talked about the Zimbabwean dream, the young Zimbabwean dream being, going abroad. Yeah. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. So in our world was very limited. What we thought was being ambitious, it was limited to Zim.
Yeah.
Whereas you guys have the opportunity to be global, right? So I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing. I think that's something that's very positive, that you lived in a world where you were not confined to Zimbabwe. You see yourself as a global citizen. But
the whole point of that is like, you go and see the world, get that exposure, open up your mind, but you need to come back and then apply that here. That's what most people do. They'll go see the world. You go to the Canton Fair and be like, wow, the things that they're doing in China are amazing. Like, it should inspire you to also come back and do the same. And you should be able to apply it once you come back, once you see what's happening elsewhere, so that you can keep up.
But there's nothing to limit you, because if you go out there and you build your savings, then you can always come back. Even as a grandparent.
But I can come back and do what? Even if it comes down to money. As a financial advisor, you cannot convince me to keep any money in a bank in this country, to put it into investing in maybe a couple of things. Maybe it's like a quick deal that's going to give me money next week and just get into a jet. But you cannot. Culture. Yeah. I hate it though, because it's killed the things for us. But you can't convince me, based off of even just my working experience, to come and keep my money here or put money into anything, unless maybe I'm building a home for myself, or I'm really going to then decide to start up a business or something. But it just doesn't make sense. People are going, and the plan is to never come back. People used to want to come back. They wanted to.
But is that necessarily a bad thing? So they're going and they never come back.
Because we don't have the resources here. So who's going to do it? The people that actually are going, they now have the capacity to actually, do something.
Okay.
We're here, but.
All right. So I didn't prepare these questions. Some of them came from the audience, and some of them it was the.
You sound like you're distancing
yourself like a disclaimer.
Yeah, I need to have a disclaimer for this particular one.
Oh my god!
And the question is around being
Juzu.
That doesn't sound like you.
Exactly.
You said the word Mbinga though before.
Exactly. This wasn't me. But anyway, we need to ask this question. So the question is around, because you raised it, so I'm just picking it up. Mbinga Juzu. I don't know what Juzu is. And it's written soft prostitution culture and role models. Is this what's actually happening in Zimbabwe?
I wouldn't know.
So you don't know what a Juzu is and what a Mbinga is?
The thing is, I know what a Mbinga is, right? I guess it's someone who's pretty well off from dealing and not really doing straightforward things. But I guess dealing doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. But Juzu, I can't really define it.
Well, apparently it's soft prostitution, so it's where you have a sugar daddy.
Is that what it's called? You guys tell me.
Yeah, well, I learned this today.
When
somebody posted a question.
Exactly, I had no idea.
In the group.
I had no idea this was happening in Zim. So I thought you would enlighten us.
So just ask that again.
Okay, so the question is, what's actually happening with the Mbinga Juzu culture, which has actually increased over time?
Or is it just a perception? Because sometimes things go viral on social media and people talk about them all the time, but they don't actually speak to a trend that's widespread.
Yeah. Well, based off of that, I don't know, because you know what? If girls were having relationships with super wealthy men or tycoons in Australia or in the UK, it wouldn't be given a label or
sugar babies.
Okay, maybe sugar babies is a thing. Yeah. But you know what? As a mom now, I do I see things happening, and I feel like in Harare, because of the economic situation, relationships have become very transactional. And it's not that, someone is being used, because we'll be on the same page. You even know, I got a degree, but I haven't been able to get a job for 2 years. You're wealthy. You can take care of me. We kind of like each other. Why don't you just, take care of my expenses in exchange for that? And not that every woman does it, and it's like that for everyone. But I've noticed that relationships have become very transactional.
But it's not, and if that's true in this part of the world, it's not really as Zimbabwean phenomenon, is it? Because it happens everywhere in the world. I mean,
it's quite prevalent now. It's more often than not.
In the US, there's actually a very big website called
Sugar.com.
You know, and that's exactly what it actually some techie just figured out that you know you can create a digital platform that brings people with these kind of needs and interests together. So I don't know that it's particularly egregious in Harare or in Zim in general. I mean,
it just never used to be a thing. Maybe that's why people are now starting to give it a term or labeling it, because it never really.
What's this? What's this song? Biggie Tembo. Bamnini.
I'm lost.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the point I'm trying to make is this was prevalent during that period in the 80s, in the 70s. Yeah.
So maybe it's
and then also migration meant that our grandfathers had wives in the rural home and a small house in the urban areas.
So perhaps you can blame social media for that, because now it's really in our faces. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
It seems like it's more prevalent because you can see the fruits of it all. You know.
And I think the sociologist Chavunduka, Professor Chavunduka, actually did a study on this.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah. No.
I think
on that. And really, it's migrant labor, which is from rural to urban. So men used to shack up with somebody
please pass the water.
in an urban area, and then in the rural areas they had their main wife, and that's just how it was until the guy passed on. So I think that culture was prevalent.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure. I think now perhaps it's just the names.
Yeah, I think maybe it's the names, and with social media, you see.
Yeah, it's amplified.
It's amplified. It's really in your face.
But how do you feel? Because you know what, there's a study that's been done that actually, progressively with the generations, they feel better about themselves, especially because of social media.
Yeah,
whereas,
I hate that.
You know, we didn't have social media, and our lives were great. You know, we were children, and we were not exposed to what was happening next door. Whereas now, all you see are the good things that people are experiencing. Nobody posts their really
bad
down
days.
Yeah, but
moments.
why would you?
Yeah.
Would you, if you're given the opportunity to? No. Post your bad days?
Well, I think that, no, we would never do that. But then,
it's like a highlight reel of the good moments. Okay, so like, how do I feel about it? I mean, I'm very, it worries me quite a lot. But I think that's why even with my social media platform, I try and really push the whole message of self-love through the discipline of daily fitness, and more about becoming your own body goals or perfect body or whatever you may call it, and just accepting yourself as you are and accepting that, okay, I'm here, I could be better, but I love myself as I am now. I'm going to work towards being a better version of me. And that, because I think this was even discussed earlier, but that the perfect body essentially is being the best version of yourself, because you're never going to look like him, he's never going to look like you, no matter how hard you work out. So it's more about embracing yourself, like, how you look, where you are, and just working towards being the best that you can be of yourself. And because social media can be very toxic. So for example, with me, I got made fun of a lot because I am very straight and I can look boy-like and I lift weights. And I don't necessarily look like the women out there that have BBLs or not even BBLs, because they're just naturally curvy women that are out there who are more voluptuous and look nothing like the opposite of what I am. Because, people have compared me to like a teenage boy, things like that. And, at the end of the day, social media is toxic in that sense, because everyone people try and put you in a box. As a woman, you're either gonna look this way or you don't, and if you don't, you're not attractive, you're not pretty, and you're only pretty if you look a certain way. So it can be very, very toxic. But that's why I really try my best to just really push that message of just self-love and accepting yourself as you are.
But Mikey, you're raising the few trolls that
a few,
but
it's only like every other week.
Like over 60,000 followers on Instagram, and a lot of them are a lot of likes.
No, but just because someone likes a photo doesn't mean that they actually
should we concentrate on the trolls? Oh, okay.
No, I don't focus on the trolls. That's not me. But I'm saying I might not address certain things, but it doesn't mean that I don't see. Okay. Chindiya can say something about me, and I might not ever respond, but it doesn't mean that I don't see it. It's still there.
You hear a tour with Chindiya.
No, so we actually don't even follow each other. We've got each other blocked. We've never even mentioned each other.
How does that work?
No,
you blocked him and he blocked you.
He blocked me first, actually. I realized, but I've never engaged with him. But he blocked me first. And then I remember I just thought someone was quoting a tweet of his or something. And I think it was related to a cousin of mine who had posted like certain pictures. And then I went and clicked. I said, I'm blocked. And I was like, okay. But we've never had disagreements. But, it's like when I posted my maternity pictures. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you even heard about them.
They went viral.
Yeah, I was very happy with them. My husband was very okay with them. But, he'll say something about...
We're a conservative society.
We're fake conservative. We like to act like we're conservative. But we do everything else that is... Things that we do are not conservative. We try and pretend to be conservative. But yeah, how did he even get into the... But we know of each other.
Because you raised it, and I just want us to talk about it, which is health and fitness.
Yeah.
And, we've seen an uptick generally across Zimbabwe, I would say, that people are more health conscious.
Yeah.
And actually we, on balance, Zimbabweans are not obese. They're actually...
We can't afford to be.
There's that. So the point I wanted to ask is the number of health and fitness, the gyms, everything. There's a global viral thing that's happening, but also specific to Zim. Do you think that a lot of it is stress or is just purely lifestyle? What is it? What's causing people to be health and fitness conscious?
I noticed that a lot of people became very health conscious after the pandemic. And, even just when COVID happened, remember they said you're actually high risk if you're overweight. That was a thing. And even just in general, if you weren't in good shape, it was probably going to take you out a lot quicker than someone who actually took the time to take care of themselves. So after the pandemic, when things started to open up again, I noticed that people started to, work out more, exercise more. And I think it's just mainly because people want to make good lifestyle choices. Mm-hmm. And even after that, I noticed that a lot of medical aid societies were now, because it's a lot, it's really expensive.
Mandatory.
Yeah, they were, let's say CMS is now offering you like cheaper membership at certain places. So if you go to Pro Fitness, if you are a CMS member, you can get a discount. That was something that never happened before the pandemic. And I think for them, even just from a cost perspective, it's a lot cheaper for you to
have a healthier cohort, so your claims are
a lot
lower.
Yeah, because it'll be expensive for you if everyone's just dropping dead and falling ill or needs dialysis for the rest of their life or something like that. It'll cost them a lot more money. So I put it to the pandemic. People are just more health conscious because of that. And I think that generally the world is just shifting towards people living healthier lives, especially women. I think they're becoming more aware of the benefits. So even, at certain gyms, they're no longer hiring like male personal trainers, they're hiring female trainers because there's been like a spike in the amount of women that are now joining gyms.
Social media.
You think?
I think that social media has played a big role, especially because I think that almost every human being is vain to some point. I mean, some more than others.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that when you take photos, it's something as simple as wedding photos. Uh-huh. You want your wedding photos to look great.
Yeah.
And social media just makes a huge emphasis on it. And I think that a lot of people, because of that, because we're continuously clicking.
Yeah.
But the tech would say, don't you think that the techies should come up with a way in which we can take slimmer photos, more beautiful.
You do have. There are apps like that.
Oh, yeah, filters, I suppose.
Yeah, you have Facetune. You can make your waist smaller.
I don't think that social media or, superficial things like photos have moved the needle a lot. I think she's onto something in terms of COVID. And I also think that from a Zimbabwean perspective in particular, if you actually, because we're almost dollarized and because of the nature of our healthcare infrastructure, if you do get seriously sick, it becomes catastrophically expensive very quickly. And I think people have had really awful experiences and it's informed their thinking about
so preventative.
Yeah, so I certainly see it from the running community. Like when I think about big runs or the enthusiasm for running today compared to 10 years ago, when I started, I mean, it's chalk and cheese. I mean, it's the interest is massive. There's so many new
is doing one,
running clubs. There's just so many people that are engaged in that because they, especially, also if you think about our demographics, there's a lot of our cohort, me and Tinashe's age on the wrong side of 40. And if you actually don't manage your weight and your health, so you have to contend with, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, all these things that are not the least bit pleasant, just to deal with physically and financially.
Yeah.
True.
So people really are thinking about health and fitness a lot, and I think you see it at the gyms in terms of just the numbers.
They're going up. Yeah.
Well, you're saying that, but then there's the issue of skincare. That's also a big issue now.
But
is it?
Skincare is not going to affect the longevity of my...
No, that's the social media bit, right?
Yeah, okay.
That people, when you look at Rihanna and what's her name, Kanye's ex-wife, I think they've made
Kim Kardashian.
They've made a lot of money from
skincare.
And we've seen it. I mean, I see that in some.
Yeah.
That,
how do you notice these things, Tinashe?
Well, good skin, I think it's important to have.
How much time do you spend on Instagram?
I don't know.
I actually don't have a Facebook account. I don't have an Instagram account.
With the amount of photos he's been taking before this started, I don't know anymore.
I think I've only posted less than 100 photos on my Instagram.
You don't know? Oh, okay.
But
on Twitter,
this is a big issue.
Yeah,
now.
But I think
skincare is a big issue. I mean, here you are. I mean, you look lovely and glammed up.
I think your
skin is great.
That's just water. I don't know.
Okay.
But I mean, you know what? I'm like, I kind of agree with him in terms of it being, it's a deeper why, a stronger why, which is just taking care of your health. Because with Instagram and what I've noticed even with training clients, if it's just a fad or something that's just really like your reason for being in the gym is very flimsy, you're not going to last a month. You'll literally, even if you see a girl with a big bum or telling you like if you do so and so many squats and hip thrusts, you'll have a bum like mine in 1 month, whatever. It's not enough to get people to actually, start like their fitness journey and actually commit to it and see it through. So I do genuinely think it really is more about people wanting to make a change in their lives and just live healthier lives and take care of themselves.
Let me give you the stats that will shock you.
You have stats?
Yeah.
Tell me your stats.
Tinashe's the numbers guy. So,
where are they coming from? What's your source?
Well, I think we can then have a debate about it. And guys on the comment section can have a debate about it. But it turns out that only 5% of the people who've gone on a weight loss program actually maintain the weight loss.
Yeah.
Most 95% relapse and gain the weight back.
Yeah.
In fact, they tend to be even bigger.
Yeah.
So the question I have is, if it was really a deeper why, then they would focus more on the diet.
And actually making lifestyle changes for the long term.
Exactly. Yeah. And not just going to the gym to give you that high, because that's what the gym does, right? And I say this respectfully because I used to be one of those that used to go to the gym. Like
okay. I thought you want to say you used to be like obese or something.
He used to be ammonia.
Well,
really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Once
I find
upon a time, many years ago.
But that's the good thing about being a natural bodybuilder, because muscle memory stays with you until you die.
Okay, you do not look like a bodybuilder. You can identify as one all you want.
Okay, that is hilarious.
I identify as a bodybuilder.
All right, I identify as a bodybuilder. But the thing against bodybuilding is essentially that it's not sustainable in the long run.
Yeah.
And whereas if you really fix your diet, especially when you're still a kid, if you ensure that your kids' diet is okay, and then that is actually more sustainable in the long run.
Look, I don't
never gain the weight.
I don't know what study you looked at, but from look, I hate to quote anecdotes. I prefer data, but I've definitely, just in the running community, seen people make really dramatic changes. Yeah. That's
doesn't look like it.
That's because you keep talking about the running community, like you're really a part of it, like that.
I'm wearing my comrades memorial,
yes,
kit because
just
just to demonstrate my bona fides as a fitness person. Since we have a fitness person on the show, that's why I decided to wear my comrades t-shirt and cap.
I got respect for you now because that's a very long marathon.
Yeah. So when I look, I've seen people make really dramatic changes.
Yeah.
And like some of the stories are quite dramatic, where literally an individual sits with their doctor, and the doctor says, "Listen, if you don't lose a bunch of weight in the next 3 to 6 months, we're going to bury you."
Yeah.
And it's so stark and it's so dramatic. And they take on this new lifestyle, and when they show you like photos of what they looked like 5, 7, 10 years ago, it's shocking. So people do make remarkable lifestyle changes and sustain them.
That was me.
It turns out the data says 5%.
Really?
Yeah, but look, I think you can find a study that points to pretty much anything.
Show me the data. I really looked at it.
And I'm saying that from the CDC, from where?
Yeah, I think.
On hard.
Well, you know what? You can look for it. You can look for it. But the anecdote I'll give you is that was my journey, right? When I realized that actually what's more sustainable is
changing your diet.
You're changing your diet.
Yeah.
That changing your diet is actually more sustainable, and the gym or running, whatever, supplements.
Well, yeah, because most of the work that you need to do is in what you eat, and you can't out-train a bad diet, no matter how much you go to the gym. Yeah.
Okay, so while we talk about that, because actually 5%, and if we run with that 5%, it turns out that Vogue and a lot of these magazines and social media will keep on hammering on that. We've got this whole body positivity thing that's happening, where it actually doesn't matter. So we've been talking about health and fitness, and you look the part.
Okay.
Your BMI would just be right. But we have lots and lots of people, especially women, who, because I don't see any body positivity as it concerns men, but it really concerns.
I guess we push it more.
I've never seen it on.
Are you talking about the woke mind virus, where they're saying it's perfectly okay to be morbidly obese?
No, but that's not body positivity.
Well, it's part of it, right?
That's what it is.
It is. I'm being politically correct by putting it out as body positivity. So these are people who are overweight, according to science, but
that's
the
fat
fashion
positivity.
Industry. Sorry?
Because body positivity is about...
So please...
No, because fat positivity is like, you're big. I'm not too well versed on that. But the difference between that and body positivity is, again, there's me. I could be, let's say, when I'm like during like my peak training times, I can get very veiny. I can look very muscular. I can look very toned, but it's not like I'm unhealthy, right? But I will get judged for just looking the way I am. And body positivity is about being respected as a human being, no matter how you look, because it's more about not having like these toxic body standards that we have these days. Like in the early 2000s, it was look like Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie. They look like stick
Naomi
thin.
Campbell.
Yeah, look stick thin. Then next thing it was now the whole have a BBL kind of.
Jennifer Lopez.
She never had a big bum. I don't know why they kept lying to us and we believed it, but not like that. But okay, fine, J-Lo. She's slim. And there's and then now you have the Nicki Minaj kind of body, like a BBL kind of body. And that puts a lot of, and when you now put someone on a pedestal, because the perfect body is very it's cyclical. It just depends on, where you're at.
The ancient Romans had a very different perspective.
It's always changing.
Neuroscience is very different, but we'll get into that rabbit hole. But please continue.
So, it changes so often, and your body is not a fad, and you don't have the money to constantly go for surgery and change it as and when things change. Kim K and Khloe Kardashian, they took out their implants because they're not really in fashion anymore. Skinny is back. So it's for the younger girls that... Hey, who knows? Don't quote me, but she used to have a really big derriere, and now it's not as big. But so body positivity is there for just like the average looking, not average, but just for normal bodies. Like it's okay to look the way you look and to look normal. That's very different from fat positivity, where you're now.
Please explain that.
I'm not really well versed on that, because people end up quoting me and whatever. But even with that, I'm really all about, even when someone is, let's say, morbidly obese, I'm very much about accepting and loving yourself as you are, but also accepting that, you know what, I could do better, I could improve, and there's a better version of myself that's
There's a reason why they call it
it.
morbidly obese, though, right? It
but there are two
literally
classes
means
to being obese.
It literally means that you're putting so much strain on your heart and your body.
But don't hate yourself in the process of
trying
to be better.
You shouldn't hate yourself.
Yeah.
But I think so. So here's a good way of thinking about it. If you've got a curable disease like malaria,
yeah,
you shouldn't go through life thinking it's perfectly okay, because if you don't treat it, it'll kill you.
Yeah.
You should actually get the treatment. Yeah. And I think that being morbidly obese is fatal. It will kill you before your time.
Statistically,
right?
you have a higher risk.
So it's in your best interest, and as much as you shouldn't self-hate, to recognize that you actually have a problem and deal with it. Right? Just like somebody who's diagnosed with malaria or any other condition that is treatable but potentially fatal. You know, I think this is just...
So I think that's very anecdotal. Do you want the stats, the facts?
Where are you getting these stats?
They're there.
Okay.
And anyone in the comment section can always correct me. But so America is noted as an extremely obese society on average, right? And their lifespan is like 77, 78. And then Japan is noted as an extremely healthy society. And their lifespan is like 84, 85. So the people that we term obese, right? You will, by being healthy, you will live 7-8 years longer.
Yeah, but you're talking about lifespan. You're not talking about health span. So the quality of those 10, 15, 20 years before you die,
that's where I was going to go with this. That actually, what has turned out is all you need to do is take a pill, right? And you'll have the quality of life. So you might actually be obese, and you'll have the same quality of life as somebody who's not. But all you need to do is take your medicine.
And you won't be obese.
You will be obese.
Okay.
But you won't have the problems that are usually associated with obesity. But you will live a shorter life. But it's only 6-7 years shorter. So this is just on average.
Yeah.
That's the stats. Yeah, and
technology,
and I'm actually quite surprised because I think Oprah has been onto this, right? So there's being obese and taking care of yourself, and then there is also weight loss that is not healthy. Well, that's healthy, but it's not fitness induced, and it's not dietary induced. It's actually just medicine. There's certain pills.
That's not going to help. You're still going to have a fatty heart or a fatty liver.
No, it increases your metabolism. So these pills, what they would do is they will increase your metabolism.
Oh, Ozempic.
They will control. They will control your insulin.
It's a blockbuster drug in the US right now.
What are your views? Okay, so let's actually have a discussion around that.
Yeah, well, from what I've read up, like most of the people, again, like what you said, people like the 5% that actually maintain the weight loss, when most people do take Ozempic, there are a lot of side effects. It actually increases your risk of pancreatic cancer and even cancer in your thyroids. There are a lot of crazy side effects. And, once people maybe lose that 15, 20 pounds that they wanted to lose, if they don't actually make the lifestyle changes that are needed to sustain that weight loss, they gain it back in about a month or two afterwards. But I mean, it's great, but it's not sustainable in terms of like, you're going to jab yourself with Ozempic.
Somebody, I think it was Nassim Taleb, but I could be wrong. He made this analogy about, margarine and butter, and he asked the question, do you trust something that's made naturally by a cow or something that's made by a chemist? And so I would always, I will not be an early adopter in things like these.
Shocking. For you, a techie.
I'm a techie, but
honestly, AI.
Yeah. But when it comes to
that's shocking.
When it comes to untested, new drugs and medical procedures, I'm not going to be an early adopter. I'm going to.
You vaccinated?
He was.
I was vaccinated.
He was vaccinated.
You started to sound like an anti-vaxxer.
No, but I did that because I needed to travel. I was actually do you remember the debates we used to have? I was actually a skeptic of vaccines. I was a skeptic of lockdowns. I was and it's work. And it's amazing how the skeptics were labeled conspiracy theorists. They were told to stay in their lane and shut up.
Yeah.
And then the one change that caught my imagination is I remember in the very early days, people tried to compare COVID to the flu, and they got absolutely hammered. The criticism was savage. Right, and now who is saying, look, COVID is just like the flu.
Yeah, it really is. People still get it these days, but it's not.
People are saying, look, we should think about it just like the flu. So it's amazing what happens when you shut down debate and discussion and you label people who have a different opinion, evil or malicious or crazy. Yeah.
I remember the shock of. Living in Zimbabwe wearing masks and going to Europe in Paris and nobody's wearing a mask. And I was like, okay.
What's kind of behind?
The science, where's the science working and where is it not working? And then I just knew that, a lot of it was just hullabaloo. But, I'm being told that it's time we close the show. And I think how we can, and this was really fantastic. This was great.
Thank you.
But I think how we can just tie it up. All up. I think what's coming out is the things that the millennials and the young people are worried about and are thinking about.
Yeah.
Health, fitness, lifestyles,
yeah.
and going abroad. That's their dream, which is very different from your grandparents and from your parents.
Yeah.
How do you integrate and how do you associate yourself with your parents and your grandparents? I know your granddad passed on.
Yeah, my granddad
You were very
passed
close.
on. Yeah.
And throughout the generations, do you think that there's a harmonious relationship between the young and the old? And how could we improve the relationships?
I think there's a very big disconnect between generations, so grandparents and parents. Especially when I went to university and I came back, I had to live in my mother's house. And I feel like once I went to university, my mind was opened up to a lot more, even just in terms of how I expressed myself. I feel like you said, we're conservative. And when I went, abroad, I realized people could just openly express themselves through what they wore, through how, what they did or how they spoke or whatever. And I came back more vocal. And that didn't sit well with my family, grandparents. It was seen as disrespect. But I was in a country where people spoke up. You say what's on your mind, you speak, and I'm still that way today. And you don't care. It's not really about what people think. And I think that's why I got a lot, because before I really cared. Oh, what if so and so hears me say this or sees me wearing this? And I came back really not giving. Yeah, and that's where I had a bit of a clash, especially with my family, and there's a bit of a disconnect. And I think what the older generation has to just open up their minds a bit. But I think that's too much to ask. They're too far gone.
How can the relations be more harmonious, and how can the older generation actually understand you guys? I've got little kids, and I'm worried that there's going to be a disconnect. How can I connect more with my kids?
Just try and find out what they're interested in. What is it that they like to do? Go there with them and find out why. Why is it that they like doing these things? Even like when I started going to the gym, my mother used to literally, hate it. She thought it was a waste of time. And now I've made a profession out of it and I'm doing pretty okay. But at that point in time, it was, it's a waste of time. She didn't really get why I went there so often and what I enjoyed so much about it. But now, 5 years down the line, she joined the gym because she was like, okay, let me let me see what it is about this space. What is that you enjoy so much about it? And now she goes without me even having to ask her. You know, I used to come back late from the gym at like 8 and say, what are you doing for 3 hours at that place? You know, she never used to understand. But now, you know, she comes back at 8, you know, she'll go for a class, do some cardio afterwards. She's got her friends there, grab a coffee. You know, now she gets it. But it's just unfortunate that it's happening when I'm married and out of the house. But it took me actually leaving the house for her to then say, okay, you know, I still want to connect with my daughter. What is it that she enjoys doing? Where does she like to hang out? Let me go and do that. So just engage them more.
On that very positive and very laudable. I think it's great. This was fantastic having you around.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
We should do this more often. And I think you were on the hot seat and...
I really would have liked to sit there.
You look good.
Can I sit there next time? Thank you.
No, the scenery will be much worse for me.
Okay, fine. I'll come back here. I can sit next to you.
Well, anyway.
Otherwise, thank you very much for a wonderful time that we've actually shared. We're going to continue with after drinks. And then after that, we'll have dinner and we'll have a great weekend. And cheers to you and enjoy yourself. Bye.
Cheers.